Hi, welcome again to, I think we're almost at the end of the whole round of the CEO tours at VMworld. But I am very happy to be here with Ron Bianchini, CEO of Avere.
Great to be here.
Yeah. Ron will go into the questions because I have noticed that everyone's schedule is so much getting messed up that we will make as much use of this time as possible. Ron, tell me, who are you today as a person?
As a person, I would say, the most important thing to me is I'm a father of 3 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And just keeping them happy, growing up, keeping them on path, that's probably where I spend all of my time.
What's their ages?
So the oldest is 19, and then 17, and then 13.
Okay, that's a little bit older than mine. I have a 3 and a 7.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. And
you have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah. What are their interests?
So interestingly enough, the first one is music, vocal performance. She's actually at Carnegie Mellon for vocal performance. The second one is engineering. She takes after Dad. The first one, we don't know who she takes after.
Okay.
And the third one kind of has a mixture of both.
That's cool. That's cool. So we have arts and science.
That's right.
That's cool. Right. Yeah, great. So other special things outside being dad? Do you have hobbies? Do you like sports?
It's mainly family time.
Okay.
Because when it's with our family of 5, but also bigger Italian family, if you put a dot at my mother's house in New York and make a 5-mile radius circle, you capture 27, 30 Bianchinis.
Okay.
And so it's dealing with my family and then dealing with the bigger family.
Yeah, I get that picture already. Yeah.
Right.
Well, then explain me how did you become that person you are today? Give me. You don't have to tell me that how you were as a 3-year-old, but get me through your college and so. What were the things that changed you as a person to become who you are today?
So the interesting thing is, the more I think about it, I can relate a lot of what happened based on the births of my daughters. So my first daughter, right around the time she was born, I wrote a patent. I was a professor at Carnegie Mellon, and I wrote a patent on large-scale ATM switches. And through her first 4 years, it was all about taking that patent and turning it into finding companies interested. And we signed up some large interested parties. And what I learned through that process was, as a professor, I was limited. I couldn't, outside of turning over the IP to them, I couldn't actually follow through. And so the great thing is, right around the time we were expecting our second, I decided that it would be better for me if I left the university and started a company. And this way I can take that IP and follow it all the way through out to the market and to see customer adoption. So we have vivid memories. First company was started in my basement. I have vivid memories of my 8-month-old wife coming down the stairs at 2 a.m. with cookies she baked for the team while we're trying to get our first prototype running.
Yeah, it's you mentioned a few things that come along in more of these interviews. One of them is people that come out of university, that technology, that want to do something with the technology in the market. I've heard it a few times. And secondly, a fruitful life, that when a new startup gets, there's almost always a new child in the same process. So get me through let me say the last 10 years of your professional career. What happened? What are points in those 10 years that made you who you are today?
Great. So now I'm going to talk about child number 3.
Oh.
So it was really I had intellectual property with the first kid that I realized I wanted to take it further. And so with the second kid, right around that time we started a company. Well, that company ran very short time. We only ran it for about a year. And then we were acquired, interestingly enough, by other CMU grads, including one of the founders was one of my ex-students. And so then we got acquired by 4 Systems, and then 4 Systems got acquired by Marconi. And right around the time, I remember my wife had just given birth. I left the delivery room, and I got a call from corporate Marconi that they were promoting me, and I was going to have a much larger role in the company. And what I learned over the course of the week of finding out what that responsibility was, I wasn't that guy. I wasn't that big company guy. And so actually by the time I went back, after I took a week off with the birth of the third daughter, when I went back, I told them that I was leaving to go get another company started, because at that point I would have been responsible for a lot of the intellectual property, but completely removed from customers.
Okay.
And I decided that I didn't want to go there. And so that's when I started the second company, needing to get back into something smaller. So I think what's interesting about it, and it just happens to time with the kids, is first I learned I wanted to take things further than an academic could. And then I learned that I enjoyed it and I didn't want to go bigger and get separated from the customers.
So does that mean that you either have to remain doing the exact same thing for the rest of your life, or making more children?
Yeah, right. So no more kids. I mean, the next thing was a dog, but no more kids.
Okay, yeah.
But I think, honestly, the time is just incredible, needed, invested in the company. So if there is something after Avere, it will be something where I can spend more time at home.
Absolutely. So Avere, what happened there? How did that become Avere? And maybe more importantly, what's the current status of Avere? What happened in the last 12 months?
Great. So I left the last company. So the company I was just talking about was Spinnaker Networks. Spinnaker got acquired by Network Appliance, and NetApp really turned Pittsburgh, because we're from right outside of Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, turned the Pittsburgh division into an engineering division. And so they wanted me to move. Any more senior role I would take required me moving out to California. And the kids didn't want to move. We're an East Coast family. And I left the company, and it turned out one of the other co-founders of Spinnaker also left. And we would get together 2-3 times a week at a coffee shop, kind of halfway between our house, and we came up with the idea for Avere. And it really makes a lot of sense. What we're doing is we're not building a new unique storage server, but we're building something that goes into an existing NAS environment and it optimizes that environment. And so we thought we can make a very big impact by only focusing on this optimization piece.
So Avere got started on a coffee napkin.
That's right. Basically it did. It was about 4 months in the making, and we figured out how we could help these environments, and we got it started. But what I love about Avere is these are all of the early people, the first 12, 15 people were all people that we had worked with at one company or another. And so it's now become the work family, right? And in terms of the last year, we've been doing really well. We initially started out optimizing storage for performance. What we learned is, because we offload the core filers so much, we can actually also optimize for cost. Because once we're in and people see so little traffic going to the back, they really downsize. They really make a smaller footprint. But in the last 12 months...
or avoiding upgrade.
That's right. That's right. Avoiding upgrade. You put us in and your infrastructure could last. Right. Typically, once your storage goes in, there's scaling going on, either in performance or capacity. We absolutely help people avoid that and live on much, much longer. But what we learned in the last year is that we actually do incredible things for WAN latency, cloud. Because imagine you put our device where your applications are, and the storage could be in another part of the world. The user only sees that high latent link only 2% of the time, because we offload. The other 98% transactions get terminated locally. And so the big thing for us in the last year is moved us into this third use case, this third market, which is cloud optimization.
Would that then be, I think that might be your challenge then for the next year, or what, making that a broad market adoption, making sure that it gets adopted by people. Is that your challenge, or are there other challenges that you would say in the next 12 months?
That's exactly right. That's it. We're very close to coming out with a release that's very well optimized for clouds, private and public clouds, and find customer adoption, going and finding the customer base, figuring out the places where we can help the most. That's this year's challenge.
Okay, great. We're at VMworld. I think we're over half. I think the last big day of the partner exchange.
Yes.
Where all the vendors are. Tomorrow is going to be just saying hi to everyone. How important is for you the whole VMware ecosystem or VMware as a technology?
Incredibly. So if you take a whole bunch of applications and you virtualize them, what you're doing is you're taking all the I/O of those applications and you're moving them to a smaller set of hardware platforms.
Yes.
So the transactions per platform goes up dramatically. On top of all that, you're not only are you keeping the I/O of the application, you're adding I/O, which is updating the state of the machine. Well, this puts incredible stress on the storage
the I/O
infrastructure.
blender.
That's right, the I/O blender.
Right.
And so it turns out the very first use case, the performance use case, is very significant in a VM environment. We have a lot of customers running VDI environments on it, but also virtual servers, because the I/O just causes performance slowdown on the app. And we can hide that. In a very good example is boot storms in VDI environments. Because we cache reads and we post writes. Because we cache reads, a boot storm is one op from the data repository, and then we blast it out in parallel to all the people that are booting.
I get that. Do you have technology partners here on the floor?
You know, it's really all the storage vendors. It's the people that we sit in front of. It's the environments that we optimize. And so we're a NAS play, network attached storage. So if you're running your VM environment on NFS, we can make significant impact.
And SMB, does that play also in the Microsoft environment?
We do. We do NFS and CIFS to the clients. Okay. So typically VM environments are run on NFS, but we also support all the user transactions, all the Microsoft, and CIFS transactions with the CIFS protocol.
Okay, great. Any specifics for you? What you got out of this VMworld?
Customers. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to meet customers and to existing customers, new customers, and people learn how they could really scale their VM environment using NFS, right? Using NAS.
Yeah, we're slowly coming to that scalable environments. We're done with 10 and 15 nodes environments.
That's right. That's right.
And not every technology has kept up with that. So it's cool to have some enhancements along the side without doing completely disruptive changes in your environment. It's a cool fit. Ron, thank you very much for your time. I think you got a lot of meetings ahead of you today.
We do.
I'll probably meet you next year again, but maybe even in between.
That's great.
Ron,
thank you very much.